Peace on earth, goodwill to all.
I think it
Yeah.
was a little bit of a weird but it was fun.
That's good. We're good with weird. If ever there was a community that was good with weird, it's this one. It has to be. You brought me in, so, you know. And so I have no idea where to even begin this morning. I do know that in the Unity magazine, the daily word, that love was the word for today. So we'll begin with love, and we know that that's what we create here in our beloved community. It truly is all about love. And when we move into this idea of living with integrity, there's a local attorney in the Palm Springs area that has a commercial that begins something like, integrity is saying what we mean and meaning what we say. And if we take that and kind of break it down and look a little deeper into it, is this idea of saying what we mean, of speaking our truth, of knowing who we are. So, each Sunday I begin with that little phrase about that we are whole, perfect, and complete. That in the mind of God, that already it's already here. Everything is already known. And in the reading today, it was about this, the phrase that said that we can give up this idea that we have to create. That we have to create. And how many of us, I know that this has been an experience for myself, that going through life, that there were so many things that I had to do. That there was this drilled into me that it's in your upbringing, it's in your educational system, it's in this idea of you got to get a job, you got to get out there and be productive, you got to make a living, you've got to be successful, and all of the media advertisement is all about that there's so much that you have to do, that you have to have. There's things that you need. There's places you need to go. There's people that you need to be with. There's certain amount of stuff that you have to have in your life in order for you to be whole, perfect, and complete. And then you show up on Sunday and I go, no, none of that's true. You already are whole, perfect, and complete. And we are not the ones in this individualized expression of who we are. We are not the ones that are creating these things. It's already been created in the mind of God. All that ever has been, all that ever is, and all that ever will be has already been created in that infinite intelligence, in that divine power. It's already there. It's already made available. What we are promoting and teaching in this philosophy of science of mind is that power is already there, indwelling within you. It's already given you life. It's already given you the possibility of being limitless, being a creator in your experience, in the sense that if you can recognize that that's within you, if you can tap into that power that's there within you, and you can use it in order to bring forth into your experience, into your demonstration, into the manifestation of your experience, all the good that you are deserving of. And you are deserving of all of your good. Living in integrity, living in that awareness that you know that there is a truth, that there is a power, that it is available to you. You just need to learn how to use it. You need to understand that it's already there. You don't create it. You don't create the universal law. The law has already been made available to you. What we're trying to develop here is an understanding of how it is that we use it. Now, in my own personal understanding, in my own personal belief, I'm a deep skeptic. I don't really believe in much of anything. I'm suspicious about everything that's going on. And when I came into this teaching of Science of Mind, I was very, very leery about it. I was one of those individuals that always sat in the back, thinking, and I'm going to catch them. I'm going to find out, what's their scam. I'm going to figure out what it is that they've created here that has drawn in all of this attention and is bringing all these people into these Science of Mind centers, because something about that is suspicious. And then I kind of moved up into the middle of the aisle because it was getting a little bit interesting, and I thought, oh, there's a power that I can use. And then I found myself in the front row. And then I was doing things. I was like ushering, I was making coffee, and I was volunteering, and I was taking classes, and then I signed up to be a practitioner, and now look at me. So I caution you, it doesn't always work to sit in the back, because eventually you get drawn in and you're brought up into the front. And I'm still very skeptic about this Science of Mind textbook, this guy, Ernest Holmes, and what he's bringing about. This idea that you can have whatever it is that you desire in your life. What we don't hear is that little caveat that says, but it's based upon the level of your belief and your understanding. It is, what is your belief? What is it that you are thinking? What is it that's going on in the back of your mind? That's where the real trouble begins. That's where all of this begins to come into a place of understanding, is that if you can bring all of that thinking, all of that noise that's going on in the back of your mind into the front of your mind, then you have a greater understanding. Again, in the reading where it says, we don't need a greater power. The power is already there. The power is already available. The power has already created and manifested the entire universe. How much greater can you get than that? What we need is a greater consciousness. The consciousness is that awareness that's in the front of our mind. Consciousness is that understanding that we have, that we are a part of this divine intelligence. And because we are a part of it, because it is the essence of who we are, that when we understand that, when we trust in that, when we have a belief in that, and when we learn how to use that, then we're able to create and manifest and demonstrate all of the good that is in our life. And there's a caveat to that, because we don't always know what is the good that is available to have in our life. It said you can have all of the good, but if your thinking is that my good is all of this stuff that I can get at the shopping mall, or all of this stuff that I can get online, or all of the stuff that, that I can bring in, that's not necessarily your good. So again, it requires us to go into a deeper understanding, a deeper consciousness of what is good in our life. And there probably is better ways to understand what's good in your life. But one of the greatest shakeups in your life is when you're faced with a challenge. Then you begin to prioritize, and you begin to understand that the things in your life, all of that stuff that you may have collected by shopping at Amazon or online or in the shopping mall, none of that is creating your happiness. None of that is bringing forth a greater sense of joy. None of that is bringing the health that's into your life. Sometimes it may be useful and may be beneficial, but that's not that's not the cause of joy and happiness and prosperity in your life. The cause is understanding the power that is available to you and using it in a right and correct way. This is what we're trying to do as we study all of these things in Science of Mind and all of the other teachings and books that have followed after that. Because Ernest Holmes was very adamant about, don't just take what I've said. We remain, as he said, open at the top. We remain open to receive. That's another example of how we use our Science of Mind teaching symbol. It's open at the top. That divine intelligence is forever coming down. It's forever available. And it's unlimited. It is always there to be available for our use if we understand it. The tools in which we use to understand it are all the tools that we practice and that we teach here. Meditation, affirmative prayer, spiritual mind treatment, the use of our consciousness that has been developed and trained through the practitioners and the ministers, available to help guide us through some of the challenges that we are faced with throughout our life. And just because you've gone through all of the training and you've gotten all of the licenses and all of the robes and stoles and everything that comes with it, doesn't mean that you're no longer going to be faced with challenges. I'm a perfect example of that, because I'm forever going through a challenge. That it seems to be the way in which we show up in this human form, is that we're here as an experience. We're here kind of as a big metaphysical experiment. It's like, okay, here's life. Now what are you going to do with it? And here's some tools that you can work with. And Science of Mind is not the only philosophy that has these tools. All of the faiths, all of the traditions, any organization, any teaching that is based on principle and values is going to talk about integrity and truth and faith. All of these things are across the board. How they get packaged, the way in which they show up in a book or a journal or a CD or a video, these are all just the packaging of it. But truth has always been truth. Integrity has always been available to us. It's just the way in which we use it. And sometimes we use it in ways that are not always in our best interest. When we talk about say what you mean and mean what you say, how many times have people said, oh, here's my truth. And then when you call them on it, they go, oh, I was just kidding. That was not my truth. The real truth is, and then you get caught up in that web of how do I get out of something that I brought myself into. That's the way in which we're using our power. And sometimes we use it in a way that's not in our best interest. Saying what we mean. We are whole, perfect, and complete. And then meaning what we say. If I really believe in that, then I have to trust that there is a power available to me that I can use that can bring me into an experience of wholeness, bring me into a way in which I feel connected. Just like showing up in this beloved community. There's a sense of wholeness here. When we show up and we celebrate together, when we show up and we participate and we engage and we volunteer and we fill the toy box up here and we fill the community cupboard box, these are ways in which we make ourselves whole because we're connecting in some way to the community, the greater community at large. Because we're all one, we're all here together, we're all going through this journey at some level, in the same way as each and every other person. So we make these connections because that's what makes us whole. When we see that we are just a part of something greater, then we understand this idea of wholeness. Not that I'm whole in and of myself. I don't have that infinite power at my fingertips. I'm trying to work at the best that I can to be in that way of manifesting and demonstrating the good that is already available for myself and for others. But I don't have the answer or the wholeness for everyone. I'm spending most of my time and energy on myself. Because if I can be whole in my understanding of myself, then I can be available to others. So that means that I'm going through experience, and if I'm using that in a way to develop my understanding, then I can be of better use, better support to others. So when I'm faced with a challenge, and in my best day, I look at it and say, what am I learning here? And as I learn it, then how can I share it? How can I open up the pathway for others so it's a little easier, it's a little better, that they're able to see a little bit more joy because of my experience? That's what makes my connection for me. That may not be the way that you're making your connection. We all get to choose how we're going to make our connection. And to be complete means that I have to live my life full out. If I'm not living my life fully in every moment, in every way that I possibly can, whether it looks like it's good, bad, or ugly, I'm living it in order to be complete. And when I'm complete, I won't be here anymore. But as long as I'm here, there's still more to do. So I have to live it. I have to live it full out in the expression, in the experience, in the best way that I can. Whole, perfect, and complete. The perfection is in the mind, in the awareness, and in the consciousness. So the greater my awareness, the greater my opening into being in truth, being in wisdom, being in integrity, then the more perfect I am. And so that's a job that I'm still working at, as I'm sure that each and every one of us is. So we use this opportunity and this living in integrity, saying what we mean. What do we mean? That idea that love is all that's needed. If we believe that, if we're saying that, are we living it? Are we living in the truth, in the integrity of, if that's true, then we need to do more of it. And we need to share more of that so we can get into that practice and be that way. So we have this opportunity to speak our truth, to share that in a way that is loving to ourselves and to all others. And then to catch ourselves when we're not in that space and to bring it back into integrity. Bring it back into, this is what I really believe. This is the way that I want to conduct myself. This is the way that I want to be seen and I want to be perceived in that way of love. And in fun, we steal each other's gifts. Just as a way to make connection. But we truly are here to be in an experience of love. And so again, in this way, I'm here to just love each and every one of you as a beloved community. And I appreciate and I'm grateful for the love that you give back. So let's continue in this celebration of this season and this year in that place of love. Thank you. Namaste.